Good morning, everyone. Kurt Holford here, and I am here to talk to you today about a little bit of a commentary regarding the video I had posted yesterday. That was kind of quick, fast, and in a hurry for me doing some validation pieces regarding the my left hand, the rear hand usage, and how I can manipulate the sword in different directions. I got to this road of wanting to explore that because of a recent conversation that our group had within Vadi, and regarding how he describes the sword both for armor and unarmored. And some of the ways that he describes it, to me, I thought were very interesting. And it got me deeper to look into Fiore, specifically against, once again, Neghetti, but also in other manuscripts as well. Vadi talks about how the cross guard and the blade should be, the cross guard and the grip should be a width of a hand in length. And before I go any further, if there's anybody, people that study at this, please, if I'm incorrect here, please post a comment in the discussion. But anyway, back to what he was saying is that the cross guard and the handle are usually a hand's width. So you're having like an equal proportion of cross guard to hand. And then he describes how the sword is for an armored versus unarmored, and armored being that of how the last bit of the sword is actually sharpened and everything else is not. And that the crossguard should be a spiked crossguard. In the unarmored section, it talks about everything is pretty much mirrored, except for there's two other considerations that come with this, and the consideration they have there is in regards to the pommel. It does not talk, if I remember correctly, it does not say in there that the last bit has to be that, so I'm assuming that the entirety of the sword is sharp. And the pommel space is also specifically said to make sure that you can fit the pommel within the grasp of your hand. This is the thing that got me, one, curious as far as what does this do for us? And how does this help us with the sword in a variety of different opportunities? So, of course, like I said, I don't study Vadi yet. He's on my list, but I got a lot of Fiore to go through. So I, of course, took this information and went back into Fiore and looked into Getty, and just about, if not all, of his images of sword into hand, I say just about all because I can't remember certain right now, but I want to say that his armored one, when he's in the middle iron gate, the lower, like basically a German Alber, when he's in armor, I don't think he does the pommeling there. However, in his sword and two hand manuscript for the unarmored section, I don't think I saw a single image where he was not gripping the pommel. So if he's up he's constantly in a position where his hand is like this. You don't even see the pommel poking through. Right? So it's this way. When he's off on his side here, you see like this is kind of rounded out. Top high here. The left one, again, you see his hand across this way. His point guards, they show, again, kind of his handle in this way. So this led me to believe that this gripping the pommel is, it's a mechanism, it's a possibility. Because again, you have all this length of a grip, why do you have this length of a grip and so on and so forth? And why would only grip to the pommel area? Well, one, I don't believe that you would only grip the pommel. I believe that you now have this thing where your left hand plays differently, so it can shift based off of your consideration. This is kind of similar to how it was, when I think about some of the marksmanship training I had done in the Marine Corps, how you do different type of sitting positions and everything else, and how you are constantly shifting along the barrel of the shifting along the handle on the barrel to basically figure out where and help for elevation. So I look at that and I think, ultimately this rear hand grip and what you do back here is really kind of an indicator of what you're dealing with. Are you trying to cleave through? Are you trying to project the point? Are you trying to transition through? And that's just kind of what I was exploring within that video. So all I'm going to do today is I wanted to discuss this first and foremost, and I wanted to take a second here and just kind of show some transitions. I'm not going to be using the full length sword here, so I have my indoor trainer here today with me. And again, I'm gonna play with this pommel right here in place and see what I can actually do with that. So that's what we're gonna kick off here. So as you can see here, this handle, obviously a little bit longer. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think you could have it with it shorter, so on and so forth. Part of the thing I did yesterday in the video was I was using a variety of different tools. So I had my crease messer from Pommel. I had my my Black Fencer longsword blunt, and then I had the custom Reginier that is to mirror between the Albion Tallhofer and the Mercenary. And at all phases, I was able to do the same thing with this rear hand. So with this being in the rear hand immediately, I'm using one that's a disc, a little pommel here, but I think it doesn't really matter. I think that you have all different effects that you can create from this. But by putting this into the hand as such, this allows a lot of extension. You can still extend through. You don't lose anything off of this. So me being here, shooting forward with this, I can shoot forward very easily. And again, I'm not sacrificing anything. I can be in a side guard here, again as seen, and I can shoot through very easily. I can also wind across into these other positions like his bicorno. I can wind across into my left, and my left hand is now stationary. So, being in a side guard profile, again, my hand is like such. I can play before, it doesn't matter here. I can push this out here very easily. And because this is at the end piece, I can utilize this to torque a lot more. And this also might be one of the reasons why the bicorno might be this way, because I can retract, and rather than just being turned in, which I believe is also possible, it can also be turned up and around. Boom, up and around. And that is possible because I'm on this end piece here. This will be one thing that I can show with this. So, up. And this actually allows really quick motions for that. So immediately what I'm feeling now, granted, this might not be what body would consider to be, because this is longer than and this is shorter than the handle, but the message is still the same. And ultimately with this being the case, I can cut and then wheel through and cut. There's a lot of things you can do here. This allows me a lot of different angles. And it allows for a lot more depth, this, because it's further out, it's not so much over torquing on one side of the body. And that might be one of the reasons why they say this. Anatomically, I'm not over on one side right here where I'm having to strain my shoulder. I can sit here pretty comfortably, just kind of nice and neat, and shoot out. And just do all sorts of things with this. If I say strictly to Fiore, then every position of this, I can go through every last position of this with relative ease. And it just allows me, with this rear hand here, to be in position to be able to shoot and do all sorts of things. So I can come up, through, and you get every last one of his kind of combinations. So the long and short of this is I do feel like this is a handling consideration, and there's a lot of movement in this. At the same time too, with I'm not limited to staying here, I can also shift my left hand up, and now I have a lot more focal point to cause that kind of striking vector. If I'm talking about using this to close, well, I can still close, and because my hand's at the very base, it comes right off. So if I'm here, I still have the same kind of disengagement as I do here. So coming up, it's right there. My hand is actually a little bit more steady. Granted, I'm probably with this grip. Same thing with coming across, stopping the hand, and then striking in. So basic movements in regards to the pommel. So handling purpose-wise, this handles very nicely. And again, if I'm just trying to stick with Fiore guards, then I get all the same things, especially if I use my body and my turns together. And I'm trying to keep it true forward here, but you do see is images like this too. So that's what I'm finding out about this, and that's what I was demonstrating at speed yesterday. So final consideration regarding this is, is this a Fiore only thing? Well, obviously, like I said before, body talks about it, so we know it's not just Fiore. Also, you see Talhofer, you see other images within the glosses, and I encourage people to go out there and take a look at this. You constantly see this left hand, or their left hand typically, on this image piece here. I used to think that was just a Meyer thing, but having looked now at in Fiore, it's not just a Meyer thing where you see this guy at the end right here. You see a lot of pushing with this. That makes a lot of sense to me, especially if you're talking about what he's going for. With that being the case, so this is again pointing to, I think that the handle is a big portion of how we perceive and work through the art. So how you choose to have this, it's a huge difference, and it becomes down to a preference piece. Body makes it very specifically because he talks about how make sure it can fit into your hand. So this makes me think about a video I saw recently in regards to some Japanese cutting, and the gentleman that was talking about this was that handles were preferences. It's just like the modern day firearm. Not everyone has the same size hand. Not everyone has the same type of comfort with different calibers. And it comes down to what's the tool that you want in your hand. Having played now with grips that are very small, like the mercenary that I have within a fetter, that's a confidence piece, and it actually puts me, it gives you a different, more like a focal point where both my hands are together. It's not that you can't create the same thing here by choking up on the grip. But the thing that you can do here is you have space to move easily, where here I'm actually a lot more torque on the shoulder. Again, these are just more tactics and considerations that I really think that the art is trying to get as proper. So, but again, this is all in context of Fiore at the moment. And what I see with Fiore is not, he doesn't dissociate between having a two-handed sword and a one-handed sword, at least by the copy that I have. He says that you have a sword in one hand and a sword in two hand. And not to mention he has his 6 dissimilar and positions of the sword itself. So that means that using this thing, it's user's preference. And you actually get a lot more kind of wheeling and winding action that you can get out of it, especially when you use the turn of the feet. And this leads me to believe that this concept of using the pommel is not just a later Meyer thing, it was a sword thing. A final commentary on that is when you start talking about single-handed swords. So for example, if you're talking about like a Cincadia, it's a blade that's about as broad as a hand, it's very short. And it's a later period civilian self-defense weapon. And it has a pommel that is broader, but and again, you see here by this front area, you see that it's very narrow towards the tip. Of course, every model is a little bit different here, but that's also, again, user's preference. What does this do? If the right hand is able to whip around, well, now the pommel moves in all directions. And that is no different than keeping the right hand here and allowing the left hand to do all the work in guiding this around. And as I turn, keeping this right hand in the center of my body. So verifying this right here, this is just me kind of playing with it. I've been playing with this now for the past 5 or 6 days. I plan on doing some sparring with it eventually too. But I'm seeing no evidence so far that would suggest that gripping in this way right here was only for a later period higher fencing thing. This is just as valuable to a person that is I'd say, like, 14th century, turn of the 15th century fighting, that they may have to draw certain things there too. So with that being the case, just wanted to share what my findings were on this. As always, play with this, please. I am just one person just looking at this right here, and I love to share this because I think it's really cool. It helps me move in different directions. It helps me have a better understanding of the art, and it helps me connect to not just Fiore, and not just Lichtenauer, but the art proper, if you will. That's what it helps me connect to, and there's reasons to grip it in all forms and fashions. So, like I said, if you have any questions, please drop a comment, drop a link. I will also be adding in there the link to the video that I'm talking about yesterday in the description below. But until then, as always, train well and fight on.